Hi everyone, I'm Jane at Rockin' Worms. Welcome to part 2 of me setting up my indoor worm totes for the summer heat. Getting prepared ahead of time for a change. Okay, so this is my dining room. It's a mess right now because I've been, moving things around. So I'm just gonna show you. Hey, that's my new dehydrator, by the way. Marketplace, good score there. All right, so these are just standard 50-gallon totes, Sterilite brands, bought them from Walmart. They used to be like 20 bucks. I don't have any idea what they are now. I do have them on some cinder blocks to raise them up to a comfortable working level for myself. The cinder blocks are on thick pieces of cardboard to protect the carpeting underneath. And heavy duty plywood on top. I have 3 totes set up. What I'm anticipating doing is 2 grow out bins, and the third one will be a nursery cocoon bin. So that's the plan. We'll see what really happens. We set up these poles here. This is just standard conduit kind of stuff. Metal conduit with some elbows screwed in to make the span of what we wanted. And then it's just placed and trapped into one of the concrete blocks to hold it. And hanging off is shop lights, which, by the way, yes, I also got off of Marketplace I don't know, 4 or 5 years ago. I've used them for a variety of applications, including as grow lights in a bathroom during cold snaps for seedlings. But now I've got 2 hanging here to give me nice, bright working light, which is really important for me personally to have good lighting when I'm working in the worm bin. This is one that worm tote that I set up just, a couple hours ago, and now we're going to do the same thing with this one so I can show you what's going on. All right, so again, I'm doing this by myself, so give me some grace here. All right, this is a bucket of the pre-compost that I brought in from outside. You saw that in part 1, which I will link in the description. And I'm just gonna dump some in here. I'm gonna break up some of the clumps. And I'm just getting a base here because I am going to add in some feed zone items, which I will do here in a second. Okay, hold on. Let me do a little bit more. There we go. Again, I apologize for the wacky angles, but I'm doing the best I can. All right, so now I have a base level layer, and I am going to add some napkins, as I like to do, for absorption underneath my food stuff. So as my food breaks down, releases a lot of liquid. The liquid is absorbed by the napkins and doesn't go straight through the pre-compost to sit on the bottom of the tote and potentially get anaerobic. I don't need smells in my house if I can avoid it. So just using this as the absorption layer. And of course, as this gets wet and colonized with the biota from the food that I'm now going to add, the worms are going to eat the napkins just as much as they eat anything else. Okay, so switching hands here. This is the food I am going to add. This is from my Instapot. It has some potatoes that were getting kind of some asparagus that I got from a food pantry, and and some black beans are in there that kind of went funky in the back of the old refrigerator. So now I'm just picking it up, and things that fall off are fine because in the worm bin is where they're headed anyway. All right, so I'm gonna dump this food. Now, just as a little kind of tip here, this strainer contraption thing with little legs on it. They're folded right now, but really handy to have. It's worth, I think, $6 I paid for it. And that means that I can load up my food in it inside the Instapot, and the food doesn't sit in the liquid. When I take it out, the food's already been drained a little bit, so it's not, again, as soppy wet going into my worm bin. What I've done in the past when I've had the vegetables and fruits directly in the liquid is I've taken them out and squeezed out the excess water before I put them into the worm bin. This just saves me that step. Oh, and also this really attractive liquid from the Instapot from steaming the vegetables. I'm going to throw this out. No, you didn't really believe I was going to throw it out, did you? Not for a second. I'm going to use this as liquid to make pre-compost. So I'm just going to set this aside. Hold on. Let me see. Where am I going to put it? I'm going to put it down here on the ground. I have one of my plastic bins down here to protect the carpeting. And let's take, switching hands again. My phone's going to be really disgusting when I'm done. I'm going to have to wash it. All right. So now I've got the food, and I'm going to just spread this out just a little bit. No big deal. Not worried about it at all. And this is going to be my food zone. All right. Now, this is going to be a worm bin. So I want to add some amendments to make the worms more attracted to the area, because I want the worms to move into this area, leaving behind their castings. And also there's some ingredients, some additives that the worms need in order to remain healthy, and that's primarily calcium. So let's add in some of these amendments. Let's do the calcium first. This happens to be oyster shell powder, but eggshells works well. Dolomite lime works well. Can't see what I'm showing you as I bend down. Anything that has good calcium in it. It's important for the gland that worms have inside their crop, where they start breaking down and processing the food. The calcium is used by the gland and the worm's digestive system to offset the acidic nature of the decomposing foods they eat. Okay, so calcium is very important to your worm. Now I am going to add a little worm chow. Let me do the worm chow first. Again, nothing crazy, just a little bit. Then it was, you know, a nice feed with the vegetables. And I did the brown stuff you saw me add first is veggie powder. Okay, veggie powder is 100% fruits and vegetables dehydrated. And what it does is provide my worms with a larger variety of foods. That's, you know, vitamins, nutrients, minerals, all that good stuff that is in a varied, healthy diet. It's good for us. It's good for the worms. So veggie powder, which, by the way, is available on my website if you're interested, or you can make it yourself. I have a video that shows you how to do that as well. All right. Now that I have my food zone set up, I'm going to cover it with the rest of the pre-compost. Hold on. There we go. Again, you guys got to just kind of roll with me here. All right, and I'm just breaking up those clumps I showed you in part 1, which I will have to show you in part 3 because I don't have it here, and I really want to avoid editing and stitching so I can do this myself and not bother cameraman as he's visiting our daughter. All right, so this is pretty good to show you guys what I am doing. Let me get this empty bucket out of the way. There we go. Now, where did I put the worms? Do I have the worms? Did I bring in the worms? I brought in the worms. Here they are. Hold on a second. Another bucket. This is a bucket of the worms. See? From the outside worm tote. Give me 1 second. Yeah, okay. Just wanted to make sure this is the bucket I wanted to use. All right, so now I am going to add the worms in the opposite end. Hold on, that's the way this goes. Okay, add the worms on the opposite end of the food zone so they can work their little way down into this direction. All right, leaving these beautiful castings behind. All right, that I'll be able to take out, sift, or give to my chickens for them to process it. And I am one step closer to having that bountiful garden that I am looking forward to have. All right, so what am I going to do next with this is I'm going to add more of the pre-compost here, and I'm going to add more of the worms here so the tote gets a little bit fuller, because I may as well take advantage of the, you know, full size here. And I do have the rest of the tote that these worms came out of. And I also had that second tote that is on the coffee table on the patio. And I do want to get both totes into these indoor totes. Now, I will show you this. And this is the final setup. Again, I will be adding more volume of worms and pre-compost into this tote as well, but it's getting late and I really want to eat my dinner. So all I've done here is added some prepared bedding on top and moistened it with my little sprayer. Here's a sprayer. This is just a, chemical sprayer from one of the big box stores. And you just put in the water, you pump it up, and then you spray it. I do like spraying at this point better than dumping in, a gallon of water and hand mixing it in, because what I really want is the moisture to kind of trickle down through the bedding and be captured by the different layers as it goes down. So I just don't get this, rush of waterfall water rushing through my pre-compost and prepared bedding, and then again sitting on the bottom of my tote getting anaerobic. So I do think spraying at this point is the better way to moisten as opposed to using a gallon of water. Then I put the sheets of newspaper on here. This is just sales circular from a local grocery store. It actually fits really well. And these are the same plastic bags that I've been using as a cover for my standard worm bins. And I'm just putting them on in a different orientation. And again, they fit really well. So I'm very pleased with this. Oh, look at that. I can zoom out. Huh. Okay, so that's where we are. I hope this has been helpful to you. Again, the principles can be used to set up a regular worm bin, which I have done many, many times, and I do have several videos on that. So if you need any pointers or help, or, ask me for the link and I'll, send it to you so you can see how I set up worm bins, again, step by step, because that, I think, is the best way to go, right? It's easier to understand. Okay, so yeah, I am going to go have dinner, and then I'm going to finish bringing in some more of my worms from the patio. All right, hit me up in the comments with what your thoughts are on my setup and any suggestions for improvements you have, how you handle the hot weather in your area, because I know a lot of you have worms on patios or balconies or garages and sheds, and the summer is coming. All right, so until the next video, I remain yours in the dirt, Jayne.